The whole town called him crazy when Marcus Webb bought John Wayne's abandoned ranch for $1. But the moment his German shepherd, Valor, started clawing at the floorboards in the old stable, everything changed. What they found buried beneath decades of silence wasn't just a fortune. It was a secret powerful man had spent 40 years trying to erase. Stay close. This story goes deeper than anyone imagined. Before we begin, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? The desert wind came hard across the New Mexico flatlands, carrying red dust that stung like memory. Marcus Webb stood at the edge of the property line, staring at what remained of the Duke's dream ranch, a name locals still whispered with a mix of reverence and unease. The ranch house sagged like a broken promise. The stable leaned so far left it looked ready to surrender to gravity. Tumbleweeds had claimed the corral, and the fence posts stood like crooked teeth against the bruised sunset sky. Beside him, Valor sat perfectly still, ears forward, eyes locked on the stable. The shepherd's body vibrated with tension, the same alert posture he'd held in Kandahar when danger lurked just beyond the visible world. Marcus pulled the crumpled auction notice from his jacket pocket. Final sale, Duke's Dream Ranch. No reserve. Sold as is. The winning bid had been $1. His last dollar, actually. The final bill he'd found crumpled in the glove box of his truck after the bank took his house, after his wife left, after the VA said there was nothing more they could do for his nightmares. $1 for 37 acres and a collection of buildings that should have been condemned years ago. The auctioneer had looked at him with something between pity and disgust. You sure about this, son? That place hasn't been lived in since the 80s. Duke bought it in '76, used it maybe twice, then just let it rot. Marcus had nodded, unable to form words past the tightness in his throat. Now, standing in the dying light with Valor pressed against his leg, he wondered if the auctioneer had been right. Maybe he was crazy. Maybe this was just another bad decision in a long line of choices that had brought him to rock bottom. Valor whined low, urgent. Not a sound of fear, a sound of discovery. What is it, boy? Marcus whispered. The shepherd took 3 steps toward the stable, stopped, looked back. His tail stayed low, his gaze intense. Come. Now. This matters. Marcus had learned to trust that look in Afghanistan. Valor had saved his life more times than he could count, dragging him from a burning Humvee, alerting to an IED that would have vaporized their entire squad, standing guard while Marcus broke down in a supply closet after watching his best friend die in his arms. If Valor said something mattered, it did. They crossed the dusty yard together, boots and paws crunching over dried earth and broken glass. The stable door hung from one hinge, swaying slightly in the wind. Inside, darkness pooled thick and absolute. Marcus clicked on his flashlight. The beam cut through dust motes that drifted like slow snow. Old stalls lined both sides. They would gray with age. Rusted equipment hung from nails, bridles, halters, tools Marcus couldn't name. In the far corner, a workbench sagged under the weight of forgotten projects. Valor didn't care about any of it. He walked straight to the center of the stable floor and started digging. Not playful digging. Not casual exploration. This was purposeful, frantic, the kind of digging that said something important lived beneath the surface. Valor, easy, Marcus said, but the dog ignored him completely. Dirt and old hay flew backward. Valor's claws scraped against something that wasn't earth, something that rang with a hollow metallic sound. Marcus's heart kicked hard against his ribs. He knelt beside Valor, pushing the dog gently aside, and brushed away the debris with his hands. A metal plate, square, heavy, stamped with a faded military insignia, he recognized instantly. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And below it, barely visible under decades of grime. Authorized personnel only. 1978. The year before John Wayne died. Marcus sat back on his heels, breath coming faster. PTSD crept at the edges of his vision, trying to pull him into the past, into the smell of smoke and the sound of screaming. But Valor leaned hard against him, warm and solid, anchoring him to the present. Okay, Marcus whispered. Okay, buddy. Let's see what you found. He worked his fingers under the edge of the plate. It resisted, sealed by rust and time, but he'd opened harder things with worse tools. He braced his feet, pulled, and with a grinding shriek, the plate lifted. Cold air rushed up from below, carrying the smell of concrete and metal and something else. something that reminded him of classified briefings in underground bunkers. Beneath the plate, a ladder descended into absolute darkness. Marcus aimed his flashlight down. The beam didn't reach the bottom. It just kept going down, down, swallowed by a black that felt too deep, too intentional for a simple storm cellar. Valor barked once. Sharp. Insistent. You want me to go down there? Marcus asked. The shepherd barked again, then started down the ladder without waiting for permission. Valor, wait. But the dog was already descending, sure-footed despite the darkness, disappearing into the hole like he'd done it 1,000 times before. Marcus had no choice. He couldn't leave Valor down there alone. He swung his legs onto the ladder, testing each rung before trusting his weight. The metal was cold through his gloves, solid despite its age. Someone had built this to last. 20 rungs down, his boots hit concrete. He swept the flashlight in a slow circle, and what he saw made his breath catch. This wasn't a cellar. It was a bunker. A real one. Reinforced walls. Ventilation pipes. Emergency lighting fixtures that hadn't worked in decades. And in the center of the space, taking up nearly half the room, stood a vault door. Not a safe. A vault. The kind banks used. The kind governments used for things they never wanted found. Valor sat in front of it, perfectly still, staring at the massive steel door like it might speak to him. Marcus approached slowly, heart hammering. The vault door bore no markings except for a combination dial and a single placard riveted to the steel, property of J. Wayne. Private. Do not disturb. His hand trembled as he touched the cold metal. John Wayne. The Duke himself. Why would a movie star need a government-grade bunker under a ranch he barely used? Valor whined, softer now. Uncertain. Marcus knelt beside him. Yeah, buddy. I don't know either. He stood again, studying the vault. No combination. No key. No way in without. His flashlight beam caught something else. A small wooden box sitting on a shelf to the left of the vault door, covered in dust, but deliberately placed. Waiting. Marcus lifted it carefully. Inside, wrapped in oilcloth, he found a letter. The paper was yellowed, the handwriting strong and clear. To whoever finds this place after I'm gone. My name is Colonel James Rourke, United States Army, retired. If you're reading this, then you've found what I spent the last years of my life trying to protect. Duke didn't build this bunker. I did. He just gave me the land to do it on when I had nowhere else to turn. What's inside that vault isn't treasure in the way most people think. It's truth. Evidence. Proof of things powerful men did in the dark. In 1977, I commanded a classified operation in Central America. We were told it was a rescue mission. We were lied to. What we found, what we were ordered to destroy, I couldn't let die, so I saved it, hid it. And when they came for me, Duke helped me disappear. The combination is the date we met, the day he saved my life when my own government wanted me dead, August 14th, 1976. If you open this vault, you inherit the responsibility. Men will come. They always do. But maybe you're braver than I was. Maybe you'll finish what I couldn't. Trust the dog. They always know. J. Rourke. Marcus read it twice, hands shaking. Valor pressed against his leg, grounding him. 1977, Marcus whispered. Central America. Jesus. He knew enough history to fill in the blanks. Operations nobody talked about. Missions that didn't officially exist. Men who came home broken or didn't come home at all. Valor barked once. Do it. Marcus stepped to the vault dial. His fingers felt numb as he turned it. Right to 08. Left past 0 to 14. Right to 19. Left to 76. Nothing happened. He tried again, slower this time, feeling for the clicks he'd learned to recognize during demolition training. On the third attempt, something deep inside the vault mechanism gave a soft, final thunk. Marcus pulled the handle. The vault door swung open on hinges that still worked perfectly, revealing a space the size of a walk-in closet. And inside, Marcus stumbled backward, overwhelmed. Stacks of documents filled metal shelves from floor to ceiling. Photographs, film canisters, audio reels, and in the center, locked in clear cases, objects that didn't belong in any private collection. Classified military files stamped with dates from the 70s and 80s, evidence logs, and something that made Marcus's blood run cold. Thick manila envelopes labeled with names he recognized. Senators, generals, men who'd risen to power on the backs of secrets. But that wasn't what stopped his heart. At the very back of the vault, stacked in neat rows, were gold bars. Dozens of them, each stamped with markings Marcus had only seen in training materials. Banco Central de Nicaragua, 1978. Valor whined, uncertain now. Marcus sank to his knees, overwhelmed. This wasn't a treasure. This was a bomb. A historical bomb that could destroy careers, rewrite history, expose things governments spent billions to keep buried. And it was his now. $1 had bought him this responsibility. Above them, in the stable, footsteps creaked across old wood. Valor's head snapped up, ears forward. Marcus killed his flashlight instantly, pulling Valor close in the darkness. The footsteps paused directly above the open hatch. Then a voice called down, cold and measured. "Mr. Webb, we know you're down there, and we know what you found. Come up, now, before this gets difficult." Marcus's heart hammered against his ribs. Valor's body tensed like coiled wire, ready to spring. The past wasn't buried anymore. It was awake, and it knew his name. Marcus held his breath in the darkness, one hand on Valor's collar, the other braced against the cold concrete wall. His mind raced through options, each one worse than the last. The latter was the only way out. Whoever stood above controlled his exit. Valor's growl vibrated low and steady, a sound that meant danger was real and close. "Mr. Webb," the voice called again, patient but firm. "I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to help you understand what you've stumbled into before you make a mistake that can't be undone." Marcus's PTSD flared hot behind his eyes. Voices in the dark. Men with guns. Promises that turned to lies. He'd heard this tone before, in briefing rooms where officers promised support that never came, in checkpoints where locals smiled before opening fire. But something about the voice felt different. Tired. Almost regretful. "Who are you?" Marcus called up, keeping his flashlight off. A pause. Then, "My name is Vincent Hayes. I was Colonel Rourke's executive officer. I helped him build that bunker you're standing in. And I've been waiting 30 years for someone to find it." Valor's growl softened slightly, uncertain. Marcus's throat tightened. "If you helped build it, why didn't you come back for it?" "Because I was being watched. Still am. But you showing up, buying this place, nobody expected that. You slipped through the cracks." The voice dropped lower. "Please, come up. I'm 73 years old and unarmed. If I wanted you dead, you'd already be dead." It was the last part that convinced Marcus. True threats didn't announce themselves. He clicked on his flashlight, illuminating Valor's tense face. "Stay close, boy. If anything feels wrong, you run." Valor huffed, as if he'd ever run without Marcus. They climbed the ladder together, Marcus first, then Valor scrambling up behind him. When Marcus's head cleared the hatch, he found himself staring at a man who looked exactly like what he'd described. Old, gray, wearing a threadbare jacket and holding both hands clearly visible at his sides. Vincent Hayes had the weathered face of someone who'd spent decades looking over his shoulder. His eyes were sharp but kind, the eyes of a soldier who'd seen too much and survived anyway. "Easy," Vincent said softly, nodding toward Valor. "Beautiful shepherd. Military trained. He saved my life in Kandahar," Marcus said, climbing fully out of the hatch. Valor positioned himself between them instantly. Vincent smiled, sad and knowing. Then he's exactly the kind of companion Rourke would have trusted. He glanced toward the open hatch. "You opened the vault." It wasn't a question. "Yeah," Marcus admitted. "Found the letter. Found the combination. Found." He stopped, unsure how much to reveal. "Found more than you bargained for," Vincent finished. "Gold from Nicaragua. Documents that should have been destroyed 40 years ago. Evidence of things the government would rather forget." He met Marcus's eyes. "And now you're wondering if you should have just walked away." Marcus swallowed hard. "The thought crossed my mind." Vincent nodded slowly. "It should. Because the moment you climbed down that ladder, you became a threat. Not to me. To people with resources you can't imagine. People who've spent decades making sure that vaults stayed lost. Then why are you here?" Marcus demanded. "Why help Rourke hide it in the first place?" Vincent's face hardened. "Because what we did in Central America in '77 was wrong. We weren't rescuing hostages. We were covering up an operation that went sideways. Civilians died. Children died. And when Rourke tried to report it, they tried to silence him permanently." He gestured toward the hatch. "That gold down there? Payment for our silence." Rourke refused it. Took it as evidence instead. Every bar stamped with proof of where it came from, who authorized the theft, who tried to buy our complicity. Valor sat down, still alert, but no longer aggressive. Dogs knew things. They read truth in heartbeats and breath. Marcus rubbed his face with both hands. So what am I supposed to do with all this? That's your choice, Vincent said quietly. You can seal it back up. Walk away. Pretend you never found it. Or, he paused, measuring Marcus with those sharp old eyes. Or you can finish what Rourke started. Take the evidence to someone who can't be bought. Someone who'll actually do something with it. Like who? Marcus asked, voice cracking slightly. I'm a broke veteran living in a collapsing ranch house. I don't know anyone with that kind of power. Vincent reached into his jacket slowly, carefully, and pulled out a business card. Diane Mercer, investigative journalist. Washington Post. She's been chasing this story for 15 years, ever since Rourke sent her a single photograph anonymously before he died. She knows something exists. She just doesn't know where. Marcus took the card with trembling fingers. And you think she'd believe me? I think she'd believe the evidence, Vincent said. But you need to move fast. By tomorrow morning, others will know you found this place. They monitor property sales, estate auctions, anything connected to Duke's old holdings. When they see your name on the deed, they'll come. And they won't be as polite as me. A chill ran down Marcus's spine. Who's they? Vincent's expression darkened. Men who were junior officers in '77 and are senior officials now. Men who built careers on buried secrets. Men who can make a veteran with PTSD disappear without anyone asking questions. The words hit like a physical blow. Marcus had already disappeared once. Into homelessness, into isolation, into the margins where nobody cared what happened to you. Valor nudged his hand, pulling him back. How do I know you're not one of them? Marcus asked quietly. Vincent smiled, genuinely this time. You don't, but your dog does. And he hasn't tried to rip my throat out yet. So I figure that's a good sign. Marcus almost laughed. Almost. What happens to you if I take this evidence public? I finally stopped looking over my shoulder, Vincent said simply. I'm old, Webb. Tired. I've kept Rourke's secret for 30 years because I was too afraid to do anything else. But I never stopped believing someone would find it eventually. Someone brave enough or desperate enough to do what we couldn't. He turned to leave, then paused. One more thing. The gold. It's worth about $42 million at current market rates. Legally, it's yours. The property deed includes all structures and contents. But morally, he looked back. That gold was stolen from people who had nothing. If you're the man I think you are, you'll figure out the right thing to do with it. Vincent walked out of the stable, his footsteps fading into the desert night. Marcus stood there, card in hand. Valor pressed against his leg, and felt the weight of the world settle onto his shoulders. $42 million in gold. Documents that could destroy powerful men. And a dog who'd saved his life more times than he could count. He looked down at Valor. What do you think, boy? We survived Afghanistan. Think we can survive this? Valor's tail thumped once against the floor. Marcus pocketed the card and turned back toward the hatch. If he was going to do this, and something deep in his chest told him he had to, he needed to understand exactly what he was dealing with. He descended into the bunker again, this time methodically examining everything. The documents were organized by date and operation. The photographs showed things Marcus had only heard whispers about: body bags, destroyed villages, American soldiers standing over carnage that was never reported. And the gold. Each bar stamped with serial numbers, provenance, proof. He found Rourke's personal journal in a sealed envelope. The first entry made his hands shake. They told us we were heroes. They told us we were saving lives. But when I saw what we'd actually done, what we'd been ordered to do, I couldn't stay silent. Duke understood. He'd played heroes his whole life. He knew the difference between the myth and the reality. He gave me this land, helped me build this place, and never asked for anything in return except that I stay alive long enough to make it right. I failed, but maybe whoever finds this won't. Marcus closed the journal carefully. Valor sat beside him, patient and steady. Okay, Colonel, Marcus whispered to the empty bunker. I'll finish it, but we're doing it my way. He climbed back up, sealed the hatch, and covered it with dirt and hay exactly as he'd found it. Then he and Valor walked back to his truck, parked at the edge of the property. The night sky stretched infinite above them, stars sharp and cold. Marcus pulled out his phone. No service, of course. He'd have to drive into town. But as he climbed into the truck, Valor suddenly stiffened in the passenger seat, staring back toward the ranch house. Headlights. 2 sets. coming up the long dirt road from the highway. Marcus's heart hammered. Already? Vincent said tomorrow morning. He killed his own lights and waited, engine off, watching through the cracked windshield as two black SUVs pulled into the ranch yard. Four men stepped out, not old like Vincent. Young, fit, moving with the precision of people who'd done this before. They didn't knock on the ranch house door. They went straight for the stable. Valor growled low. Marcus's hands tightened on the steering wheel. He couldn't confront them. Not four trained operators with who knows what authorization or weapons. But he couldn't leave the vault unprotected either. One of the men spoke into a radio. Marcus couldn't hear the words, but he understood the body language. Searching, reporting, waiting for orders. Then they found the hatch. Even from this distance, Marcus saw the flashlight beams disappear into the bunker. His phone buzzed suddenly, making him jump. A text from an unknown number. Drive away. Now. Don't look back. I'll handle this. V. Vincent. Marcus wanted to argue. Wanted to fight. Wanted to protect what Rourke had died protecting. But Valor nudged his arm, urgent. Go. Now. Marcus started the engine, headlights still off, and rolled quietly down the hill toward the highway. In his rearview mirror, he saw more flashlight beams converging on the stable. By the time he reached the main road, his hands were shaking so hard he could barely grip the wheel. Valor placed a paw on his leg. Steady. I'm here. Yeah, buddy, Marcus whispered. I know. He drove through the darkness toward the nearest town with cell service. Diane Mercer's business card burning like a brand in his pocket. The war wasn't over. It was just beginning. And this time, Marcus Webb wasn't running away. The nearest town with decent cell service was Red Rock, population 847, consisting of one gas station, a diner that doubled as the town hall, and a motel that looked like it had been quietly dying since the Nixon administration. Marcus pulled into the motel parking lot just after midnight, Valor alert in the passenger seat, both of them wired with adrenaline and exhaustion. The neon vacancy sign flickered weakly, half the letters dead. Marcus killed the engine and sat there, hands still trembling on the wheel. His mind kept replaying the image of those men descending into Rourke's bunker, their flashlights cutting through darkness that had stayed hidden for 3 decades. Valor whined softly, bringing him back. Yeah, I'm okay. Marcus rubbed his face hard. Let's get a room. Figure out our next move. The motel clerk was a middle-aged woman with tired eyes and a face that had seen every kind of trouble walk through her door. She barely glanced at Marcus as she slid the key across the counter. $28. Cash only. Checkouts at 10. No pets. Marcus pulled out his last bills, the money he'd saved from selling plasma twice a week for the past month. He counted out 28 singles, then met her eyes. The dog's a service animal. Certified. He goes where I go. She looked at Valor, then at Marcus's worn jacket, the slight tremor in his hands, the hollowness behind his eyes. Fine, she said quietly, pocketing the cash. Room 7. Around back. Quieter. Marcus nodded his thanks. Room 7 smelled like cigarettes and defeat, but it had a bed, a bathroom, and a door that locked. Valor immediately checked every corner, sniffed the closet, inspected under the bed, then sat by the door facing out. On guard. Like always. Marcus pulled Diane Mercer's business card from his pocket and stared at it. His phone had 2% battery left. No charger. He pawned it 3 weeks ago. He had 1 call. Maybe 2 if he kept it short. He dialed. The phone rang 4 times. He was about to hang up when a woman's voice answered, sharp despite the late hour. Mercer. My name is Marcus Webb. Vincent Hayes gave me your number. He said you've been looking for something related to Colonel James Rourke. Silence. Then, carefully. Who did you say gave you my number? Vincent Hayes. He said you've been chasing a story for 15 years. Something about Central America. 1977. He heard her breath catch. Where are you right now? Red Rock, New Mexico. Motel off Highway 60. Stay there. Don't talk to anyone. Don't open that door for anyone except me. I'll be there in 8 hours. Wait. 8 hours, Mr. Webb. Can you stay safe that long? Marcus looked at Valor, then at the flimsy door lock. I've survived worse. Good. Because if you really have what I think you have, there are people who'll kill to keep it buried. The line went dead. Marcus's phone died 30 seconds later. He set it on the nightstand and sat on the edge of the bed, suddenly aware of how exhausted he was. He hadn't slept more than 3 hours at a stretch in months. PTSD didn't care about exhaustion. It came when it wanted. But tonight, with Valor watching the door and a purpose burning in his chest for the first time since Afghanistan, Marcus thought he might actually rest. He lay back, boots still on, and closed his eyes. Sleep came fast and dark. The nightmare was always the same. Sand, heat, the smell of burning fuel, and something worse. Marcus running toward the overturned Humvee, knowing Rivera was inside, knowing the fire was spreading, knowing he had seconds before. Valor's bark shattered the dream. Marcus jerked awake, heart hammering, drenched in sweat. For a moment, he didn't know where he was. The motel room. Right. Red Rock. Valor stood at the window, hackles raised, staring out into the parking lot. Marcus rolled off the bed, instinct taking over. He moved to the window and peered through the gap in the curtains. 3 a.m. The parking lot empty except for his truck and a black SUV, parked 3 spaces down. Engine running. Headlights off. Marcus's blood turned to ice. Valor growled, low and continuous. Easy, boy, Marcus whispered, though his own pulse hammered in his ears. The SUV's door opened. A man stepped out. Tall, fit, moving with the same precision Marcus had seen at the ranch. The man walked directly toward room 7. Marcus backed away from the window, mind racing. The door lock was a joke. The windows didn't open wide enough to escape through. He was trapped. Valor positioned himself between Marcus and the door, body coiled tight. The footsteps stopped outside. A shadow fell across the gap under the door. Then a knock. Soft. Almost polite. Mr. Webb, we just want to talk. No one needs to get hurt. Marcus said nothing, barely breathing. We know you found the bunker. We know you opened the vault. We're not here to hurt you. We're here to help you understand what you're dealing with. The same lines. Different voice. Same lies. Valor's growl deepened. Mr. Webb, you're a veteran. You understand chain of command. You understand classified information. What's in that vault is above your pay grade. Way above. The best thing you can do, for yourself, for your dog, is walk away. Marcus's hands clenched into fists. Above his pay grade. He'd heard that before. Right before they sent his squad into an ambush based on bad intel. Right before they told him Rivera's death was classified and he couldn't talk about it. I'm not leaving, Marcus said, voice steady despite the fear. Silence. Then, that's unfortunate. The door handle turned. Slowly, testing the lock. Valor barked, sharp and fierce. Marcus grabbed the only weapon he had, the cheap desk lamp, and ripped it from the wall. Not much, but better than nothing. The lock clicked. Someone had a key. Of course they did. The door started to open. Valor launched himself at it, 60 pounds of muscle and fury slamming into the wood, forcing it shut again. Good boy, Marcus shouted. The man outside swore. Footsteps retreated. Marcus braced his shoulder against the door, Valor pressed beside him. His mind raced. They'd be back. With more people. Better tools. He had minutes at most. The bathroom. Did it have a window? He ran to check. Yes. Small. High. But Valor could fit through. Maybe Marcus could too if he. Glass shattered in the main room. Someone had broken the window. Valor charged back, barking furiously. Valor here. Marcus commanded. The shepherd obeyed instantly, positioning himself at Marcus's side. Marcus grabbed the desk chair and hurled it through the bathroom window, clearing the remaining glass. Cold night air rushed in. Up, boy. Go. Valor hesitated, torn between obeying and protecting. Go. Marcus shouted. The dog jumped, scrambling through the window and disappearing into the darkness outside. Marcus grabbed the windowsill and pulled himself up just as the motel room door crashed inward. He squeezed through, glass scraping his jacket, his ribs. He hit the ground hard on the other side, ankle twisting painfully. Valor was there instantly, pulling at his sleeve. Run. They ran. Behind them, shouts. Flashlight beams cutting through the darkness. Footsteps pounding. Marcus's ankle screamed with every step, but adrenaline pushed him forward. They cut between buildings, through an alley, across the empty highway. Valor led the way, instincts sharper than any GPS. They reached the far side of Red Rock, where the desert opened up into scrubland and shadows. Marcus collapsed behind a cluster of rocks, lungs burning, ankle throbbing. Valor pressed against him, panting but alert. From the motel, voices carried on the wind. Radios crackling. An organized search. Marcus pulled Valor close. We can't go back to the truck. They'll be waiting. The dog licked his face. I know. We keep moving. Yeah, Marcus whispered. We keep moving. As the eastern sky began to lighten with the first hint of dawn, Marcus and Valor set out on foot into the desert, leaving behind the motel, the truck, everything except the truth burning in Marcus's memory and the promise he'd made to a dead colonel. 8 hours until Diane Mercer arrived at a motel room Marcus would never see again. But she'd given him her number. And in a town this small, finding a phone couldn't be that hard. Marcus just had to survive until morning. With Valor at his side, he'd survived worse. The desert at dawn was a study in contradictions, beautiful and brutal, silent and screaming with life if you knew how to listen. Marcus and Valor moved through the scrubland like ghosts, keeping to the shadows of rock formations and dried creek beds. Marcus's ankle throbbed with every step, swollen and angry, but he couldn't stop. Not yet. Valor ranged ahead, circling back every few minutes to check on him, the shepherd's training evident in every movement. This was what he'd been bred for, navigating hostile terrain, protecting his handler, staying alert when exhaustion tried to claim them both. As the sun broke over the eastern ridge, painting the desert in shades of copper and gold, they crested a small hill and Marcus saw it. Red Rock's main street, quiet in the early morning light. And there, on the corner near the gas station, a payphone. One of the last relics of a pre-cell phone era, probably kept functional by sheer stubbornness or nostalgia. Marcus checked behind them. No pursuit visible. Either they'd lost the men from the motel or those men were waiting, watching, letting him think he'd escaped. Come on, boy, Marcus whispered. Let's make this quick. They descended the hill, moving from cover to cover. The town was starting to wake. A pickup truck rolled down Main Street. A light came on in the diner. Normal people starting normal days, unaware that something extraordinary and dangerous was happening in their backwater town. Marcus reached the payphone and lifted the receiver with trembling hands. Dial tone. Thank God. But he didn't have Diane Mercer's number memorized. It had been in his phone. His dead phone. Back at the motel. He leaned his forehead against the metal housing, frustration and exhaustion threatening to overwhelm him. Valor nudged his leg, then sat, looking up at him with those intelligent brown eyes. Think. You're smarter than this. Marcus took a slow breath. Directory assistance. Did that still exist? He dialed 411. An automated voice answered, asking what city and state. Washington, D.C., Marcus said. The Washington Post. Main switchboard. A pause. Then ringing. Washington Post. How may I direct your call? Diane Mercer, please. Investigative team. One moment. More ringing. Marcus watched the street, every nerve screaming that he was too exposed, too visible. Mercer. Relief flooded through him. It's Marcus Webb. From last night. Where are you? Her voice was sharp, urgent. I'm in Red Rock. The motel's empty. Your truck's still in the lot, but there's broken glass, signs of a struggle. They found me. Marcus interrupted. Had to run. I'm at a payphone on Main Street, near the gas station, but I don't know how long before. Stay there. I'm 2 minutes away. Black Honda Accord. When you see me pull up, you and your dog get in immediately. Don't hesitate. Don't look around. Just move. How do I know you're? Because if I wanted you dead, I'd have told them where you were instead of racing across 3 states to get to you. She paused. 2 minutes, Mr. Webb. Can you hold on that long? Yeah. The line went dead. Marcus hung up and pressed his back against the wall beside the payphone, trying to make himself smaller. Valor leaned against his legs, a solid warm presence. 2 minutes, Marcus whispered. We can do 2 minutes. The seconds crawled past like hours. A woman came out of the diner, carrying a bag of trash. A teenager on a bicycle rode past, earbuds in, oblivious. Normal life continuing while Marcus's world balanced on a knife's edge. Then, a black Honda Accord turned onto Main Street, moving fast but not recklessly. It pulled up to the curb right in front of him and the passenger door swung open. Behind the wheel sat a woman in her late 40s, dark hair pulled back, eyes sharp and assessing. She wore jeans and a worn leather jacket, and there was an intensity about her that reminded Marcus of the best officers he'd served under, the ones who actually cared whether their people made it home. Get in, Diane Mercer said. Now. Marcus opened the back door for Valor. The shepherd jumped in without hesitation. Marcus followed, sliding into the passenger seat just as Diane hit the gas. They were 3 blocks away when Marcus saw it in the side mirror. 2 black SUVs pulling into the gas station parking lot. Men in suits jumping out, scanning the street. "They're here," Marcus said quietly. "I know." Diane didn't slow down. "They've been tracking cell signals, monitoring traffic cameras. They're good, but I've been doing this longer than they have." She took a sharp left, then another, navigating Red Rock's side streets with the confidence of someone who'd studied the map thoroughly. Within minutes they were on a dirt road heading north, away from the highway, away from the obvious routes. "There's a ranch about 20 miles from here," Diane said. "Belongs to a friend who knows how to keep his mouth shut. We'll be safe there long enough for you to tell me everything." Marcus looked back at Valor, who had settled into the back seat, panting but calm. The dog trusted her. That was enough for Marcus. "Vincent Hayes," Diane continued, eyes on the road. "How do you know him?" "He showed up at the ranch last night. Said he helped Colonel Rourke build the bunker. Gave me your card." Diane's hands tightened on the wheel. "Vincent's alive." "Jesus. I thought they'd gotten to him years ago." "Who's they?" Marcus asked. She glanced at him. "How much do you know about Operation Southwind?" "Nothing." "Good. That means you haven't compromised yourself yet by digging where you shouldn't." She took another turn, this one onto an even rougher road. Southwind was a black op in Nicaragua, 1977. Officially, it never happened. Unofficially, it was a clusterfuck of epic proportions. A joint CIA military operation that was supposed to extract compromised assets. Instead, it turned into a massacre. Marcus felt his stomach tighten. Civilians, a village, women, children, the works. Diane's voice was flat, professional, but Marcus heard the anger underneath. Rourke was the ranking officer on the ground. He reported what happened through proper channels. The channels reported back that he was mistaken, that what he saw was enemy combatants, that his report would be classified, and he should never speak of it again. But he didn't stay quiet. No, he gathered evidence. Documentation, photographs, audio recordings. He was building a case to take to Congress when his transport convoy was ambushed in Honduras. Officially, he died in that ambush. But Vincent got him out, smuggled him back to the States. John Wayne, the actual Duke, helped them disappear. Marcus stared at her. Why would John Wayne get involved in something like this? Diane smiled grimly. Because despite the cowboy image, Wayne was a complicated man. He'd supported the war in Vietnam publicly, but privately he'd started having doubts. When Rourke came to him, they'd met during a USO tour years earlier. Wayne saw a chance to do something real, something that mattered more than movies. So he gave Rourke the ranch, and the money to build the bunker, and protection from people who were asking questions. Diane navigated around a deep rut in the road. When Wayne died in '79, the ranch passed through several hands. Each owner was carefully selected. People who wouldn't ask questions, wouldn't go poking around, until the property market crashed and the estate finally had to auction it off. And I bought it for $1. You bought it for $1, Diane confirmed. The first genuine wild card in 30 years. Someone they didn't vet. Someone they couldn't control. Marcus looked out at the passing desert. Vincent said there are men who were junior officers in Southwind who are senior officials now. 3 of them, Diane said. Senator Richard Vance, he was a captain in '77, now chairs the Armed Services Committee. General Thomas Briggs, a lieutenant who's now vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs. And Clayton Morrison, civilian advisor then. Now he's deputy director at CIA. The names meant nothing to Marcus, but the positions did. These weren't mid-level bureaucrats. These were men with real power. They've spent decades burying this, Diane continued. Every witness who tried to come forward ended up discredited, disappeared, or dead. Every document that surfaced got classified at the highest levels. They've been incredibly thorough. So why do you think you can do anything with what I found? Diane pulled to a stop in front of a weathered ranch house, smaller and in better repair than Wayne's place. She killed the engine and turned to face Marcus fully. Because I don't work alone anymore. I've got editors who'll back me. Lawyers who specialize in whistleblower protection. Sources inside the government who are tired of covering for these assholes. And most importantly, she met his eyes. I've got you. A veteran. Someone who can't be dismissed as a conspiracy theorist or a fame seeker. Someone who found this evidence by accident, not design. Your credibility is ironclad. Marcus laughed bitterly. I'm a homeless vet with PTSD. I've got zero credibility. You're a decorated Marine who served 3 tours, Diane corrected. You have a silver star and a purple heart. You were honorably discharged. The only reason you're homeless is because the system failed you, and that makes you sympathetic, not dismissible. She'd done her homework. Somehow, in the few hours since his phone call, she'd pulled his service record. What do you need from me? Marcus asked quietly. Everything. The location of the bunker. Detailed descriptions of what's inside. Photographs if possible. And your testimony about how you found it, who came after you, what they said and did. Marcus hesitated. And the gold. The gold is yours. Legally. Duke's estate was settled, the property sold clear. Whatever was on that land belongs to you now. Vincent said it was stolen. It was. But the people it was stolen from are long dead. The government that stole it has no legal claim. It was an illegal operation to begin with. So you keep it, you donate it. You do whatever you think is right. That's not my story. She leaned forward. My story is about powerful men who committed war crimes and spent 40 years covering it up. About a colonel who tried to do the right thing and was erased for it. About a system so corrupt that it took a broke veteran and his dog to finally crack it open. Valor pushed his head between the seats, resting his muzzle on Marcus's shoulder. Marcus reached up and scratched the dog's ears. What happens when this goes public? Chaos, Diane said honestly. Senate investigations. Criminal referrals. Probably some men going to prison, though guys at that level have ways of avoiding consequences. But even if they don't see jail time, their careers end. Their legacies get destroyed. And the truth, the real truth about what happened in Nicaragua, finally comes out. And me? You become a target. These men will use every resource they have to discredit you, destroy you, make you wish you'd never found that bunker. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Behind them, Valor shifted in the back seat, settling down for a rest. The dog had been through hell in the past 12 hours. They both had. Colonel Rourke's letter, Marcus said finally. He wrote that whoever found the vault would inherit the responsibility. I thought about walking away, about sealing it back up and pretending I'd never seen it. Why didn't you? Marcus looked down at his hands. They were shaking again, the tremor that never fully went away. Because I'm tired of powerful people getting away with things while guys like me, guys who actually did what we were told, who believed in the mission, get thrown away when we're no longer useful. He met Diane's eyes. Rivera died because of bad intel. My best friend. He was 23 years old. And when I tried to file a report about the intelligence failure, I got told it was above my pay grade, that I should focus on healing and let the professionals handle it. His voice cracked. I never got answers. His family never got answers. We just got silence and a flag and thanks for your service. Diane nodded slowly. So this is personal. Yeah, this is personal. She extended her hand. Then let's burn these bastards down. Marcus shook it. Her grip was strong, certain. One condition, Marcus said. Name it. When this is over, if we survive it, I want help getting Valor certified as a therapy dog. I want to work with other vets. Help them the way he's helped me. Diane smiled, genuine warmth breaking through her professional exterior. Deal. In fact, I know some people at Walter Reed who run a program exactly like that. I'll make the introduction. She gestured toward the ranch house. Come on, let's get you both fed and cleaned up. Then we document everything before they have a chance to destroy it. They climbed out of the car. Valor stretched, shook himself, and immediately began surveying the perimeter with professional thoroughness. An old man appeared on the porch, lean, weathered, with the posture of someone who'd spent a lifetime working with his hands. He nodded to Diane, then studied Marcus with eyes that didn't miss much. This the one, he asked. This is Marcus Webb, Diane confirmed. Marcus, this is Robert Chen, former Army intelligence. He knows how to keep secrets. Robert came down the steps and extended his hand. Any friend of Diane's. Your dog's welcome too. Got a barn cat, might give him some exercise if he's interested. Valor, hearing the word cat, perked his ears with interest. Marcus actually smiled. He'd like that. As they walked toward the house, Marcus felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Hope. Not the desperate, grasping kind that came from having no other options. Real hope. The kind that came from having a purpose, allies, and a dog who wouldn't let him give up. They had a long fight ahead. But for the first time since finding that bunker, Marcus thought they might actually win. Robert Chen's ranch house was comfortable in the way that only a home lived in for decades could be. worn furniture that fit perfectly, coffee that appeared without asking, and a calm that settled over Marcus like a blanket. Valor found a spot near the fireplace and collapsed into the kind of deep sleep that comes only when a dog feels truly safe. Diane set up her laptop on the dining table, connecting external hard drives, and pulling out recording equipment that looked professional and expensive. Robert brought sandwiches and coffee, set them down without comment, and disappeared into another room to give them privacy. "Okay," Diane said, clicking on a voice recorder. "Let's start from the beginning. When did you first learn about the Duke's Dream Ranch?" Marcus told her everything. The auction, the single-dollar bid, the first night at the property, Valor's obsessive interest in the stable floor, finding the hatch, the ladder, the bunker, the vault, Rourke's letter, the gold, Vincent's visit, the men who came after. Diane recorded it all, asking clarifying questions, making notes, her expression growing more intense with each detail. When Marcus finished, she sat back and let out a low whistle. "This is even bigger than I thought. Not just documents and gold. You've got Rourke's personal testimony, his journal, and the fact that Vincent Hayes is alive and willing to talk." She shook her head. "We can actually build a prosecutable case here. Not just a news story. Real accountability." Vincent said he'd been waiting for someone to find it. Marcus said, "Why didn't he just come forward himself?" "Because he'd be dead within a week," Diane said bluntly, "or discredited so thoroughly that nothing he said would matter. He needed someone with no connection to the original operation. Someone who found the evidence independently. That's you." She pulled up a map on her laptop. "The bunker. Can you show me exactly where it is?" Marcus studied the satellite image of the ranch. Even from above, the property looked abandoned and forgotten. He pointed to the stable. "Here, under the center of the floor. The hatch is concealed under dirt and hay. Security? None that I saw. It's been sealed for 30 years. Nobody knew it existed. Nobody except Vincent, Rourke, and apparently these 3 men who've been trying to keep it buried." Diane made more notes. "We need to document everything in that vault before they can destroy it. But going back is dangerous. They'll be watching the property. So what do we do?" Diane thought for a moment. "We bring the evidence to us. But carefully. We need someone they won't suspect. Someone who can go in, photograph everything, and get out clean." "Vincent," Marcus said. "Maybe, if he's willing to risk it." She pulled out her phone. "Let me make some calls. In the meantime, you should rest. You look like hell." Marcus couldn't argue with that. His ankle throbbed, his hands shook from exhaustion and adrenaline crash, and every muscle in his body ached from the sprint through the desert. But when he lay down on Robert's couch, sleep wouldn't come. His mind kept racing through scenarios, consequences, dangers. PTSD twisted his thoughts, turning every creak of the house into footsteps, every shadow into a threat. Valor sensed it. The shepherd left his spot by the fire and came to the couch, resting his head on Marcus's chest. The weight of it, the warmth, the steady breathing, it anchored Marcus in a way nothing else could. "We're really doing this, aren't we, boy?" Marcus whispered, stroking Valor's ears. The dog's tail thumped once against the floor. Marcus must have dozed, because the next thing he knew, sunlight was streaming through the windows at a different angle and Diane was shaking his shoulder gently. "Marcus, wake up. We've got a problem." He sat up instantly, Valor jumping to his feet beside him. "What happened?" Diane's face was grim. She held her phone up, showing him a news article. The headline made his blood run cold. "Former Marine wanted for questioning and theft of historical artifacts." Below it was his military ID photo and a description. Marcus Webb, 34, dishonorably discharged Marine. That was a lie. He'd been honorably discharged. Wanted for questioning regarding the theft of items from the Duke's Dream Ranch property in New Mexico. Webb is considered mentally unstable and potentially dangerous. If seen, do not approach. Contact local authorities. "They're framing you," Diane said, getting ahead of the story. "When you come forward with evidence, they'll say it's stolen property from a mentally ill veteran seeking attention." Marcus felt the world tilt. This was exactly what he'd feared. They had resources he couldn't match. They controlled narratives. They'd done this before to other people who'd tried to expose them. "So what do I do?" His voice came out smaller than he intended. Diane set her phone down and looked him directly in the eye. "You do exactly what you planned. You tell the truth. But we need to do it my way, through channels they can't control. And we need to do it fast, before they can build more lies around you. She pulled up another screen on her laptop. I've been in touch with the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. There's a staffer there, someone I trust absolutely, who's willing to receive evidence under whistleblower protection. If we can get the documents to her, along with your testimony, she can trigger a formal investigation that bypasses the people trying to bury this. How do we get the documents? Marcus asked. Vincent's going in tonight. He's got keys to the property. Apparently, he's maintained access all these years through a shell company. He'll photograph everything, download it to encrypted drives, and bring them here. And if they catch him? Diane's expression hardened. Then we go to Plan B. But let's hope it doesn't come to that. The rest of the day passed in tense preparation. Diane coached Marcus on his testimony, helping him organize his thoughts, anticipating questions hostile lawyers would ask. Robert kept watch on the perimeter, making sure they hadn't been followed. Valor stayed close to Marcus through all of it, a steady presence that kept him grounded when anxiety threatened to overwhelm him. As night fell, Diane's phone buzzed. A text from Vincent, going in now. Radio silence until I'm clear. The waiting was excruciating. Marcus paced. Diane monitored news feeds and law enforcement channels. Robert made more coffee that nobody drank. 2 hours passed. 3. Valor suddenly lifted his head, ears perked toward the window. Marcus froze. What is it, boy? The shepherd moved to the window, tail low, body tense. Headlights appeared on the long driveway leading to Robert's ranch. We've got company, Robert said quietly, moving to a gun cabinet. Wait, Diane said, peering out. That's Vincent's truck. Relief flooded through Marcus as the battered pickup pulled up to the house. But when Vincent stepped out, moving stiffly, Marcus saw blood on his shirt. They rushed outside. Vincent waved them off. I'm fine. Caught some glass from a window. Got what we needed. He held up a small hard drive. Everything. Documents, photos, audio files, Rourke's journal. All of it. Diane took the drive like it was made of gold. Did anyone see you? 2 men in an SUV were parked on the highway. I went in from the back, through the canyon. They never knew I was there. Vincent winced, pressing a hand to his ribs. But they're not going anywhere. They're watching that property 24/7 now. Robert helped Vincent inside, while Diane immediately plugged the drive into her laptop. Files began populating the screen, hundreds of them. Photos of documents stamped classified. Audio files dated 1977 to 1978. Video footage Marcus hadn't even known existed. Jesus, Diane breathed. This is everything. Complete operational records. After-action reports. Photographs of the village before and after. Body counts. Orders signed by officers who are still alive. She looked up at Marcus, eyes bright with something between triumph and horror. We can end them with this. All of them. Vincent eased into a chair, letting Robert tend to his cut. Then do it fast. They know something's happening. I heard them on their radios. They're escalating. Calling in more resources. How long do we have? Diane asked. Tomorrow. Maybe the day after. Then they'll move on this place and anyone in it. Diane's fingers flew across her keyboard. I'm uploading to 3 separate secure servers right now. Cloud storage, Senate Committee Secure Drop, and my editor's encrypted server. Even if they raid this place, the evidence will already be out there. She glanced at Marcus. Tomorrow morning, we go to Albuquerque. Senate staffer meets us there. You give your testimony under oath, hand over the physical evidence, and trigger the formal investigation. Once that's done, you're protected under whistleblower statutes. They can't touch you without creating a massive scandal. And until then, Marcus asked, we stay here, stay quiet, and hope they don't find us first. That night, Marcus took first watch while the others slept. Valor sat beside him on Robert's porch, both of them staring out at the dark desert. The stars were impossibly bright, the kind of sky Marcus had seen in Afghanistan during the quiet moments between hell. You know what I keep thinking about? Marcus said softly to the dog. Rivera. How he'd laugh if he could see me now. Broke veteran takes on the entire military-industrial complex with nothing but a loyal dog and a journalist's laptop. Valor leaned against him, warm and solid. He'd say I was crazy. He'd say it was suicide. But he'd also say it was the right thing to do. Marcus scratched behind Valor's ears. And he'd be right. The shepherd's tail thumped softly. We're going to finish this, boy. For Rivera. For Rourke. For every guy who got chewed up and spit out by people who never cared what it cost us. Valor looked up at him with those intelligent brown eyes, and Marcus could swear the dog understood every word. They sat together in the darkness, watching and waiting, while inside the house the evidence that would change everything sat encrypted on servers scattered across the country. Tomorrow, the real war began. Tonight, they just had to survive. Dawn broke clear and cold over Robert Chen's ranch. Marcus had dozed fitfully in a chair, Valor curled at his feet, both of them startling at every sound. When Diane emerged from the guest room, already dressed and moving with purpose, Marcus knew the waiting was over. Senate staffer confirmed, she said, pouring coffee with steady hands. 10 a.m. meeting at a federal building in Albuquerque. Secure room. Armed marshals. Once you're inside and give your testimony, you're protected. And getting to Albuquerque? Marcus asked. That's the tricky part. She pulled out a map. It's a 2-hour drive on highways they're definitely monitoring. We go together, we're too visible. We split up, we lose our strength in numbers. Vincent limped into the kitchen, his ribs wrapped in clean bandages. There's a third option. I draw them off. Lead them on a chase while you take Marcus the back way. Too dangerous, Diane said immediately. Everything's dangerous now, Vincent replied. But I know this territory. Grew up here. I can lose them in the canyons, double back. Meet you in Albuquerque this afternoon. Robert nodded slowly. Makes sense. They're looking for Marcus and the dog. Old man in a pickup truck won't trigger their attention until it's too late. Diane looked between them, jaw tight. Finally she nodded. Okay, but we leave in convoy until we hit the highway split. Stay in radio contact. Any sign of trouble, we aboard and regroup. They loaded into 2 vehicles, Vincent in his pickup, Marcus, Valor, and Diane in her Honda. Robert stayed behind to secure the ranch and maintain communication. As they pulled out, Marcus felt the weight of what they were about to do settle over him like a physical thing. This was it, the point of no return. Once he testified, once the evidence went official, there would be no going back to anonymity, to quiet obscurity. He'd be famous, or infamous, depending on who was telling the story. Valor sensed his tension and placed a paw on the center console, grounding him. Thanks, boy, Marcus murmured. They drove in silence for the first 30 minutes, 2 vehicles moving through the early morning emptiness of rural New Mexico. The landscape was stark and beautiful, mesas rising like ancient fortresses, the sky so vast it seemed impossible. Then Vincent's voice crackled over the radio. Got company. Black SUV, 2 miles back. Just appeared from a side road. Diane's hands tightened on the wheel. Confirmed. I see them. Plan B, Vincent said calmly. Highway splits coming up in 5 miles. I'll take the southern route. Lead them toward the res. You take Marcus north through the back roads. Meet at the federal building. Vincent. No arguments. This is what we planned. Go. The highway split appeared ahead. At the last possible second, Vincent's truck veered south, while Diane stayed straight. In the rearview mirror, Marcus watched the black SUV hesitate for just a moment before following Vincent. He's clear, Diane said. For now. She took the next exit, diving onto a network of dirt roads that didn't appear on any GPS. Diane had memorized the route, studied satellite images, planned for exactly this scenario. They wound through canyons and across dry creek beds, the Honda's suspension protesting but holding. Valor braced himself in the back seat, riding the bumps like a seasoned traveler. 45 minutes later, they emerged onto a paved road on the outskirts of Albuquerque. Diane finally let out a breath. We're close. Another 20 minutes to the federal building. Marcus checked his phone. Robert had given him a burner. No messages. Vincent should have checked in by now. Something's wrong, Marcus said. Vincent knows what he's doing. He should have radioed. Diane's jaw tightened, but she didn't argue. She knew Marcus was right. They were 10 minutes from their destination when Marcus's burner buzzed. Text from an unknown number. We have Vincent. Trade him for the evidence. Coordinates attached. 1 hour. Come alone or he dies. Marcus's blood turned to ice. He showed the message to Diane. She swore quietly. It's a trap. Has to be. They'll kill you both and destroy the evidence. We can't just leave him. We don't have to. The evidence is already uploaded. It's already in Senate hands. Vincent knew this might happen. He knew the risk. Marcus stared at the coordinates. A location in the desert west of the city. Isolated. Perfect for making people disappear. We stick to the plan. Diane said firmly. You testify. We get marshals involved. They can extract Vincent through official channels. He saved my life last night. Saved this entire operation. And you honor that by finishing what he started, not by getting yourself killed. Valor whined softly from the back seat, picking up on Marcus's distress. Marcus looked at the dog, then at Diane, then at the coordinates on his phone. Every instinct screamed at him to go after Vincent. But his brain, the part that had kept him alive through 3 tours, knew Diane was right. Okay, he said quietly. We stick to the plan. The federal building loomed ahead, all concrete and glass and the weight of governmental authority. Diane pulled into the underground parking garage, showing credentials to armed guards who waved them through. This is it, she said, killing the engine. Once we're inside, you're untouchable. Federal protection. These people can't reach you here. They walked through security, Valor wearing an official service dog vest Diane had somehow acquired. The guards recognized Diane, nodded respectfully, and directed them to the 3rd floor. The secure room was exactly what Marcus expected. No windows, reinforced door, recording equipment, and a woman in her 40s wearing a senator's office credentials. Mr. Webb, she said, standing to shake his hand. I'm Sarah Kemp, Senior Counsel for the Senate Intelligence Committee. Thank you for coming forward. Her handshake was firm. Her eyes assessed him quickly, veteran, PTSD, exhausted but determined. She'd seen this before. Please sit. We have a lot to cover. For the next 3 hours, Marcus told them everything. Diane provided the hard drives. Sarah asked questions that were sharp but never hostile, building a record that would withstand any legal challenge. When it was finally done, Sarah sat back and looked at him with something like awe. Mr. Webb, what you've provided is the most comprehensive evidence of governmental misconduct I've seen in 20 years. This triggers mandatory investigations across multiple agencies. Inspector General, FBI, possibly even Special Counsel. And Vincent Hayes? Marcus asked. They have him. They sent me coordinates for an exchange. Sarah's expression hardened. Give me everything. The number that texted you. The coordinates. We'll have FBI hostage rescue on it within the hour. She made a call. Spoke in code that Marcus recognized from military operations. When she hung up, she nodded. HRT is mobilizing. They'll extract your friend. What about me? Marcus asked. The news says I'm wanted for theft. That story dies today. I'm making calls right now. By tonight, the truth will be out there. You're not a thief. You're a whistleblower. And you're under federal protection. Marcus felt something unnod in his chest. It was really happening. They were really going to hold people accountable. There's one more thing, Sarah said. The gold. Legally, it's yours. But I recommend you donate it. Any charity of your choosing. It removes the appearance that you did this for money. Marcus thought about Rivera, about Rourke, about every veteran who'd come home broken and been forgotten. Veterans services, he said. Mental health programs. Dog therapy programs. Split it between organizations that actually help guys like me. Sarah smiled. Perfect. I'll have our attorneys draw up the papers. They emerged from the building hours later to find the world had shifted. Diane's phone was exploding with messages. The story had broken, not as theft, but as whistleblower expose. The Washington Post had published Diane's article with the headline, Buried Truth, Veteran Exposes 40-Year Cover-Up of Nicaragua Massacre. Below it, the full story. Documents, photographs, Vincent's testimony, and Marcus's name, presented not as a criminal, but as a hero. Marcus's burner buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Vincent extracted safely. Minor injuries. Thanks to your friend's quick action. FBI HRT. Relief washed over Marcus so powerfully his knees nearly buckled. Valor pressed against him, tail wagging, sensing the shift from tension to triumph. We did it, boy, Marcus whispered. We actually did it. Over the next few days, the fallout was explosive. Senator Vance announced his resignation. General Briggs was placed on administrative leave pending investigation. Clayton Morrison at CIA disappeared from public view entirely. Congressional hearings were scheduled. Criminal investigations opened. And Marcus Webb, the homeless veteran who'd bought a ranch for $1, became the face of accountability. But Marcus didn't stick around for the media circus. With Diane's help and Sarah's connections, he quietly returned to New Mexico. Not to the Duke's Dream Ranch. That was now a crime scene, crawling with federal investigators. No, Marcus went somewhere better. 6 months later, the ranch sat in a valley north of Santa Fe, 30 acres of good land with a solid house, a renovated barn, and a sign at the entrance that read, Second Chances Ranch, Veteran and K-9 Sanctuary. Marcus stood on the porch, watching as a young Marine, 25 at most, haunted eyes and shaking hands, climbed out of a car accompanied by a scarred German shepherd missing part of an ear. Valor trotted over to greet them, tail wagging. The shepherds sniffed each other. Then the young one relaxed visibly, recognizing a fellow warrior. "You must be Corporal Jensen," Marcus said, walking down to meet him. The Marine nodded, couldn't quite meet his eyes. "Thanks for. I didn't know where else." "You're in the right place," Marcus said gently. "Come on, I'll show you around." Inside the barn-turned bunkhouse, 3 other veterans were working with their dogs, a Navy vet teaching her pit bull to heel properly, an Army Ranger helping his lab mix through noise desensitization, an Air Force tech sergeant just sitting quietly with her elderly retriever. This was what the 42 million had bought. This sanctuary, this purpose, this proof that broken things could be put back together. Vincent appeared from the house, moving easier now that his ribs had healed. He'd become something like Marcus's second-in-command, helping run the daily operations, working with veterans who needed someone who understood. "Another one?" Vincent asked, smiling at Corporal Jensen. "Another one," Marcus confirmed. That evening, after dinner and introductions, and the kind of easy conversation that came from people who'd all seen similar hells, Marcus sat on the porch with Valor at his feet. Diane had called earlier. The trials were proceeding. Slowly, but proceeding. Vance faced criminal charges. Briggs had been court-martialed. Morrison had turned state's evidence in exchange for a lighter sentence. Justice was messy and incomplete, but it was happening. Marcus's phone buzzed. A message from Sarah Kemp. "Thought you'd want to know. Congress passed the Rourke Act today. Mandatory disclosure for all classified operations over 25 years old. Named it after the colonel." "You did that?" Marcus read it twice, then looked up at the stars. "We did it, Colonel," he whispered to the night. "We finished what you started." Valor's tail thumped against the porch. From inside the barn, Marcus heard laughter. Real laughter. Veterans and dogs finding their way back to something like normal. He'd bought a ranch for $1 and found a purpose worth more than gold. Found a way to turn his pain into something that helped others. Found proof that even broken soldiers still had fight left in them when the cause was right. The past was finally buried properly, acknowledged, accounted for, learned from. And the future? The future was 30 acres of good land, a barn full of healing veterans, and a dog who'd saved his life in more ways than one. Marcus Webb had been a lot of things. Soldier, homeless veteran, whistleblower. And now, finally, he was something else. He was home. Valor rested his head on Marcus's lap, and together they watched the stars come out over New Mexico, 2 warriors at peace at last. Before you go, drop a simple 1 in the comments if this story moved you. Your support helps these stories reach more people who need them. And if you want more journeys of courage, loyalty, and second chances, subscribe and follow for the next chapter. More powerful veteran and dog stories are coming your way. Stories that prove broken doesn't mean defeated, and that sometimes the smallest investments lead to the biggest transformations.